Mike Dougherty, writer and director of Trick or Treat, coming to you from Screamfest 2008 opening night. Well, it was based on an animated short I did back in like 96, 97. It was an animated student film. So in a lot of ways it started back then, but the first draft of the screenplay was done in 2000, and it's kind of been one of those projects that was on again, off again for the past 8 years. And
now what's the movie about? It's got kind of a strange structure because it's 4 intertwining stories, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a horror anthology film in the tradition of Tales from the Crypt and Creepshow, The Twilight Zone, and it's a throwback, to like old horror comics. But the story is kind of they all take place on Halloween night, set in a small town, and they kind of crisscross with each other as opposed to being 4 completely distinct stories. But very tongue-in-cheek. To me, it's more of a horror comedy than a straight-out horror film.
And now we know you really well because you wrote X2. You co-wrote that with Dan Harris. We got Superman as well, and then we're wondering, like, what other comic book movies are you going after?
You know what? To be totally honest, it's not that I never want to say never, but I feel like, okay, I've done 2 superhero flicks, and they were fantastic. I learned a lot, but my heart really lies in horror films, monsters, things of that sort. So I'm trying to get as many original projects off the ground because I think we've seen a lot of adaptations, we've seen a lot of remakes, and I'm glad they're still being made, but I kind of want to focus on some more original stuff.
But that doesn't mean you aren't reading. I mean, we had Sean out you and said that you had a huge comic book library, and we are huge comic book fans, and that's what Geekscape's about. What are some of the books you're reading? What's some of the stuff that gets you excited, and you're like, hey, maybe?
To be totally honest, and I know he's here, but Jonan Vasquez is running around, and I'm a huge fan of Squee and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, and I know they're not recent titles, but I think they're amazing, amazing stories, and I'd love to find some way to bring those to the big screen or even as a TV series. Because I think they're some of the funniest, most morbid stuff I've read in years.
So you still reread those? I mean, they came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's like the Squee trade paperback is still sitting by my nightstand for occasional reading. Yeah.
You might have to go back to doing animated shorts then.
I love animation, and that's why the next project is going to be animated. So yeah, I think it was time to go back home again.
How much can you tell us about the next project?
I can't tell you too much, other than the concept that being, it's called Calling All Robots, and it's kind of an homage to the old 50s rubber monster movies, giant monster movies from Toho. And, you know, it's about a world where giant robots and giant monsters are common, everyday occurrences, and how we deal with that.
Are you a fan of Brad Bird, who plays a lot like the 1950s stuff, and he does, you know, The Iron Giant, which was the best movie that year?
Yeah, huge Brad Bird fan, and one of my all-time favorites, and I think it's a tragedy it's not on DVD, is Family Dog, that amazing story segment. And, like, that was my first introduction to Brad Bird. And I actually had to find my old VHS copy of it recently, transfer it to DVD, just so I could have it. And it's not the best copy, but until they finally put it out on DVD, it's the best I can get. Yeah.
My audience is now having a kinship with somebody who brought Superman and Wolverine to the screen. They're like, wow, he is one of us. Yeah, there's no Ferd here, my friends.
Yeah, I was the kid who was picked on in high school and got in trouble for drawing in algebra class when I shouldn't have been, and had the teacher grab it and say, you think this is going to get you anywhere? So I think it's working.
Well, anything you want to say to that teacher?
What's up, Mr. Petrella?
Dude, good luck at Screamfest. Good luck with Trick or Treat. Any idea when we might be able to see it in theaters?
Again, your guess is as good as mine. I'm showing it in New York on Monday. Fangora is hosting a screening at the Two Boots Theater on Monday night. And after that, who knows? So it's a mystery.
Well, good luck. Good luck. Thanks.
Great meeting you guys.